again. Welcome to Lady Liadan's Learning Library. This time we're going to talk about embroidery. As you can see, I've got a lot of embroidery work on my dress. It makes things look really pretty, doesn't it? So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to do some very basic stitches. For the smaller ones, I recommend doing burlap and creating kind of your own lacing card. So you just get a small embroidery hoop, cut a piece of burlap ribbon to size, and then a plastic yarn needle, and you can either trace your design with a Sharpie marker, or you can just let them go up and down, just like that. But when you thread it, you're going to thread it to where there is 2 strands, so it's nice and thick, and you're going to put a little knot in the tail. That way it won't come through. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep going like that. Now see, I'm just freehanding it, but it gets little ones in practice of the motions of sewing. Just like that. This will eventually be a pretty little flower. So you can see I've started petals here, and then come around, and then come back, and then back, and then back. So like a 4-petal flower, just like that. But because the burlap has those nice big holes, makes it so much easier for little ones, even big ones with motor difficulties. Work on basic embroidery. Just like that. So now I'm going to show you big kids how to do basic embroidery. So there are a number of things that you can use. I prefer using muslin and freehanding it. You can use a pencil, or you can use a wash away pen, or even a piece of chalk. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line after we've got our muslin hooped. Now you can use muslin, linen, broadcloth, pretty much any little scrap of fabric. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a little sampler. So I've drawn these lines relatively lightly, but what I did is I drew a line across, and then I drew another line across here, and then I put little loops. Okay, and then I drew another line across here, and I put little ticks just every so often because that's a different type of stitch. And then I drew another line across with ticks on both sides because it's another type of stitch. And then I drew a little flower and then the Untitled and star. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with this one right here that you see in red, and we're going to learn the stem stitch or a back stitch. Now I drew mine in pencil because pencil washes out fairly easily. Let me get everything untangled here. All right. So, what we're going to do is when you start out, you're going to come up. You're going to come up, and then you're going to come back just like this. And make sure that the thread is underneath. Just like that. Bring your thread down like that, and here you can come back just like that. Now, if you want a stitch that looks just like stitching, what you're going to do is you're going to come down just like this. And you can come up. See it has how it breaks just like that, just like what we were doing on the burlap. Up and down, just like that. See how it gives it kind of that, well, it is stitched, but that broken stitch look. Now, if you were using this to make, say, a stem on a flower, you would start out just like that. And then you would come back and do just what we were doing before. Just like that. Now there are, at your local hobby shops, what are called pattern transfers, and they're iron-on. You can iron onto your muslin or linen or whatever and create a picture. Okay, so that's the stem stitch. Now over here we're going to do one called the Lazy Daisy stitch. Now the Lazy Daisy is, you've got a loop just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back just like this, come up to the top of the loop just like that. Make sure that, put that around it just like that. Always fun when things don't want to cooperate. So if you can see, it looks like a little loop, just like that. Then we take it and anchor it by coming down over the top of the thread. So just like that. You can see it. Sure the thread doesn't get caught. I don't know if you can see the stitch. It's right there. It's anchoring the top of that loop. So we're going to back stitch a little bit more. Thread is all being all weird. Until we come to this other little loop. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come up just like this to the top of our loop. Just like that. Pull slowly. See there? Take it. Take that little tiny stitch. To hold it in place. Just like that. So keep practicing that all the way across. And then I'm going to show you another stitch. What color should we use this time? Let's see, what do I have floating about? Need a needle first. Needle. Ooh. This one's pretty. I love the variegated floss. So what we're going to do is we're going to thread the needle just like that, if it wants to be threaded. Okay. And then we're not going to put the two tails together. You can, but you don't have to. Put a little knot in the tail here, just like that. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do the back stitch again. Wait, not the back stitch. It is this is called a blanket stitch. It's usually used on the edge of blankets. It's okay. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure out what I'm doing. funny. I know this stitch, but again, it's not always easy to remember some things. This is just a long stitch. This looks good on the hem of sleeves. So see, just like that. Now we're going to do another one. Let's see, one that's easy to see. Ooh, how about this pretty blue? I don't need too much. Now, most floss comes in a 6-yard strand, just like that. Or a 6-strand. Most floss comes in a 6-strand thread, just like this. So what you want to do is you want to pick 2 strands, pull it out, straighten it back out, and pull that out. Save the other for later. Pick up those 2 strands and make sure they're all nice and even. And let's see. It's always nice to have a place to put your needles. So I always wet my thread. It makes it easier to get through those holes. And then I squish it. Sometimes you have to clip the end of that thread because it's gotten a little frayed. There we go. All right. Put a knot in it. All right. So, start like we did the others. A little bit of a back stitch. So it's kind of like this one, only you're doing both sides. you're basically just kind of working back on yourself. Looks like leaf veins, doesn't it? All right. Now we're going to look at something. I'm going to work on this one right here, the Embroidery star. So I need a specific color for this. The Embroidery star is black on a gold background. Now, aha, there's black. So I need a little bit of thread and I need, let's see if I can get two to come out. Got too much difficulty. There we go. All right. So that was fairly painless. All right. Cut that off because it was looking kind of raggedy there at the end. All right, so what we're going to start with first on this is just the outline. Once we've got the outline done, we can fill it in. So as you can see, I'm using the stem stitch to outline it. Just like that. And turn it. Just like that. Now the reason I'm doing that, the reason I tucked it up underneath is because I'm going around corners. And kind of like with the Lazy Daisy, it helps to hold those things in place. See, I'm going to do it again. But because this is a point, just like that, helps to hold it in place. So you can see I've gotten 2 points of the Untitled star. Now normally I would finish the outlining before I even started the inside, but because we're running a little short on time, I will start filling it in. So now it's kind of like a back stitch, but I'm going to take it right across like that. This is what's called a satin stitch. So right across the whole thing, just like that. And then we're going to do it again. See how it's filling it in? Just like that. And I'm going to come over here. Do the same thing over here. Just like that. Now, I want you guys to practice. Who knows? You might even decorate the hems of one of your tunics. That would make it really special. Just like that. Moms and dads, if you're wanting some ideas on period designs, there is a 2002 complete anachronist that has black work, which is period, and it does come with several wonderful designs that you can copy, and use for reference. I definitely, for the young, any kid can do this. So whether you use burlap or muslin, whether they're 2, whether they're 22, they can do this. Anyone can do this, and it's great for just sitting in front of the TV and just having something to do with your hands. That's all the time we have for today, and we'll see you next time.